The Dayton City Commission meeting will now come to order. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening, the invocation will be given by Commissioner Turner-Sloss.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you all please bow your heads? Dear Heavenly Father, we look to you for guidance, wisdom, and civility. We ask that you continue to be with us and give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to do your will. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Blackshear, may I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
Okay, may I have a motion then to excuse Commissioner Joseph from this evening's meeting?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, been probably moved and seconded to excuse Commissioner Joseph from this evening's meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, so right now, communications and petitions, Ms. Blackshear?
Did you approve the minutes?
Oh, let me do that. Commissioner Fairchild always reminds me of that if I miss it. I may have a motion then to approve the minutes from last week's meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from last week's meeting.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the April 23rd meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, now communications and petitions.
There are none.
There are none. Okay, I know we have a presentation. Maybe it's because we're in a hurry to get to that, because we always know how exciting this is going to be. So, Mr. Steve Gondo, to the podium to talk about our monthly demolition update. Been riding around the city and seeing some good things.
Good to hear.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Deputy City Manager, Clerk. Steve Gondel, Director for the Department of Planning, Neighborhoods, and Development, with our March 2025 demolition activity for the Dayton Recovery Plan. All right, so in the month of March, we had another strong month. If you recall, in February, we saw an uptick. We were around like high 20s. We're continuing that progress. We had 28 demolitions for the month. 7 were ARPA, 3 were general fund, 18 were ODOD. Brings our number up for the year to 62, which is about 30% of the total of 2024. And we're only at 25% of calendar year 2025. So we are really getting to that pipeline that I talked about, kind of ramping up, even surpassing where we are in 25. I want to kind of take a side note. On these numbers, you'll see that our ODODs are surpassed our ARPA in that month. Recently, in November, we were notified that a round 2 was issued to the Montgomery County Land Bank for 150 total demolitions. 104 or so were in the city of Dayton. They were then notified by the state that those funds had to be exhausted by June of 2025. Round 1 needs to be exhausted by December of 2025. So they're trying to get clarity on that, but in the meantime, we're not taking a chance that if they hold firm to that we lose those funds. So we are switching our demolition strategy to now proceeding with the ODOD demolitions, the 104, and pausing where we can the ARPA demolitions and fire pile removals so that we get through those 104 ODOD demolitions. It's a surprise. I was just talking to the director of the land bank today. Still no word back from the state whether that was an error, whether they're going to correct that. He said, no, we need to proceed as if they're going to let those funds expire in June. So we're switching up. So this is, you're going to see that this is the first month you're seeing that switch, where now probably the next few months it will be predominantly ODOD funds with a few ARPA. So given that ARPA, we have a longer runway to complete those, we're making that call as of now so that we get all of those 100 and some properties demolished. So I want to just kind of point that out because it is a significant change in our strategy for 25 with the news of that those funds. So quick turnaround, less than 12 months for the state to issue to have it spent. So the team is working really well with our partners at the land bank, our vendors, to make sure that we get all of those demolitions in.
Okay.
on our piles, we ended in February, we had 82. In March, we removed 9 piles. Fortunately, in March, we only had 2 added, and I clarified this because one was a garage, and it still matters because it's going to be a pile, but of the 2 in March, one was a house, one was a garage. So where we are is at the end of March, we're at 75 piles from that work. So again, we were making progress on that pile removals as things kind of flipped on us. But again, we're going to try to continue with that, but focusing on the ODOD stuff. Look, for the emergency demolitions, you'll see there one on Wayne, I think was the garage, and then the other in Historic Inner East was the house. So again, very thrilled to keep that new additions to the pile low. We need some breaks like that. That's 2 months in a row where we've had very low numbers on the emergency demolition. So that has given us a chance to actually make some advancements on that. The March demolitions you'll see here, you'll notice again that there are a handful in the ARPA areas, but then you're going to see them spread out in the non-ARPA areas, far west, Residence Park. That was one where, when we did the initial Dayton Recovery Plan demolition strategy, Residence Park was one where we had a number of properties that needed demolished that we didn't have funds for. Well, when this ODOD round 2 came out, we quickly put those on there. So you'll see, while we may have thought those would have come much later, they're now coming now. So we're going to be working in that western side of the city, Residence Park, Greenwich Village. You'll see the dots just on the outskirts of the city. Those are the contractual properties we do at the land bank. We handle the demolitions kind of the northern half of the county. So we put those on there because while they're not in the city, they are very close. They do impact our communities that live on those western edges or those edges of the city. Same thing on the east side. You'll see properties like Walnut Hills, Belmont. These were areas where, again, they weren't ARPA qualified. They may not have been CDBG eligible. So we put them on this ODOD. That's what you're seeing now is we were, these properties that were in, and Rightview is the other one, where they didn't fit the other funding categories. But because of this change in completion date, we're advancing those demolitions. So that's a little bit of why you'll see the demolitions in the non-ARPA or CDBG areas. All right. Our demolition progress in March, the structural nuisance. So we had another 9 properties added. I think 3 or 4 of those were fire related. And then the remainders were either a structural issue had occurred. So to date, we have 26 properties that have been added to the structural list for the city. And again, we're working off of that 450 that were added in 24. Our pipeline, another robust month, 103 properties. We started the title work. 28, we started doing the asbestos survey. And 30, we had completed the asbestos remediations. And so to date, for the whole year, 197 properties have had the title work done, 147 had their surveys, and then 46 have been abated. So those 46 are ready to go. We are expediting the time between our survey, the remediation, and the inspection on the ODOD properties. We've knocked 3 weeks off of that process so that we can advance those demolitions. So we worked with the vendors to help us streamline that so that we can get those 104 properties in by the end of June. So we're grateful for them. They're busy, but they understood the reasoning for that. So we're kind of really picking up the pace on those. Our before and afters, 608 Grafton. This was a property that had significant issues. Although it was in a historic district, we went to Landmarks, we explained the situation. It was not able to be rehabilitated, and so Landmarks granted us approval to remove that, and that's in the Five Oaks neighborhood. 4064 Larkspur, there's another one where considerable issues and obviously now a significant improvement on that site. These next two, this again is working with our partners in the community. Our friends at East End came up in Twin Towers, mentioned about a new initiative with housing they were doing on the western edge of the community. And we realized that since we had started the Dayton Recovery Plan demolition, that there had been another number of properties that had come up that were problematic either due to fires that had were affecting their ability to pursue their desire to put in new housing in that area. And so although we had already kind of gone through Twin Towers, we found funds, we moved some funds around, and we were able to take out a handful of properties, mostly in that western portion of the neighborhood where they're going to be doing some new infill housing, as well as one on the far east end on Clover that had experienced some fire damage. So really thrilled. I think we had about 5 or 6 in that western portion on Xenia, Kastner. So again, working with them to kind of understand what they needed us to do, our team finding the money and the resources to take those out so that they can move forward with their plans. And lastly, not a house, but Nordell Park Shelter. You may recall that it's known for the really beautiful mural that it had facing the street, then it was defaced, and we had a situation here where, unfortunately, the structure, it actually has a big blind area. That wall, people couldn't see it, and so some individuals had set the shelter on fire, I think once, possibly even twice, and at that point, we worked with our colleagues in Public Works to determine that it was not salvageable, and they had asked if they could put that, at the request of the community, if we could put that on a contract, and we did. And so we're really glad that the first phase is done. We got the shelter down, and then Public Works and our team will work with the community on visioning for what they would, like to see in its place. Nothing guaranteed, but just where at least we have that part down, because there had been concerns that once it had caught fire twice, then it just was kind of adding to people lingering and loitering and further issues. So working with the community, we were able to remove that. And so really pleased on that kind of unique demolition there with clearing out the shelter. And on that note, I am pleased to have be back here and share this, and I will take any questions you might have regarding the work last month.
Okay, certainly. I know commissioners have some thoughts and questions. Commissioner Turner-Sloss?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Dongle. Could you please extend our gratitude and appreciation to the entire department, the division in particular. Really appreciate all of the hard work. Just wanted to commend you all for the work that is being done on Broadway in Negley. It looks great. A lot of that debris has been cleared out, and so you can definitely see that the contractor is making his way on the corner of Broadway in Negley. So again, thank you very much. And if you could provide updates for 300 Fernwood, 203 Grove, and then are we at liberty to discuss where we are in the process for Cornell Meat King, the grocery on Cornell Drive?
Yep. Thank you. Negley and Ferguson and Broadway is phenomenal. Again, working with partners. We have 2 more houses to go. Obviously, the reels that were shown at the beginning of the meeting, they've spent weeks out there to really get it opened up, cleared out. We have the house at Broadway that also had sustained damage from that fire is literally under, I think they got a good portion of it removed today. But what they've done along Negley and Ferguson is phenomenal. With 2 more to go, we're talking to the school, we're talking to partners about, again, we don't have, other than we knew that area had asked us to please clear it out, thin out some of the vegetation to open up the visibility, because it was a lot of blind spots in there. We had a lot of just arson and fire. So I'm going on that one, I'm going to give kudos to our team, but to our vendors. They really have put some thought and consideration into not just getting rid of it, but grading and clearing out. So thank you for noticing that. 300 Fernwood, that is on our ARPA firepower contract. I think that is one which I was mentioning where we'll see, but it may, I can give you more details. It might be pushed because of this ODOD flip, and so that might be one where, depending on where it was on that pile contract, it might get pushed to later summer or early fall, depending on this ODOD work. Because again, we're moving our vendors to focus on getting those 104 properties executed, and then jumping back to the ARPA. But that one is a ARPA fire pile.
Okay.
So
it's just a priority because it's been sitting for a number of years now, and there are a number of resident complaints, and there are small children that live in the area.
Okay. So
to avoid any further concerns, if we can, and I understand we have that tight deadline of the 104 with ODOD, but again, if we could take a closer look at that site because it's been a number of years.
Yeah.
And then
203 Grove, Old North Dayton, working with, and I'll get with my team tomorrow, but they have been communicating with the women's who died in that fire, her son, and his insurance, and to see, I'll get the update on, and I'll send that through the city manager's office to you all about where they are with that process. I don't want to say that I would imagine either any insurance investigation would be completed, but I will get an update on if they have gotten what they needed from the insurance so that we can proceed with
Right.
supporting them in removing that pile. But that was one where, when we last looked into it, they had insurance, and so we're going to help their insurance company with that removal. And then Cornell Market, so that is one that I have been providing updates to the Chief of Staff for the Commission Office. There is a court date, a trial set. We are going to communicate that through the residents that participated in our event at the Northwest Rec Center. At this point, we would welcome their participation in the trial. I think for the judge to hear from the residents would be helpful. So we're going to follow up with the individuals that participated at the Northwest, but as well as all of you to get the word out about the status of that. We've been communicating just as it was going through the pretrial stuff, but the trial is really where that their experience and impact by that will really matter for the judge to hear that testimony, so, or that those impact statements. And we're helping them if people can write letters. So I'll work with Verletta on if somebody can't make it to the trial, can they write an impact letter for us? If we can collect those and bring those with our team, but they are scheduled.
Is that
Yeah,
something that?
there were some that, excuse me for a second, there were some that attended the pretrial that they had, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, because they have been fined, because the owner does have the money, they did have insurance, and we had those meetings because of the fact that there was no activity in terms of cleaning the space up.
So that is the next thing. So an update to everybody will be going out about when that trial and how people can be engaged in that.
Okay, just a couple of follow-up questions. Thank you, Mayor, for that. Is it possible that perhaps you, the staff, and Ms. Jackson and maybe PA can work with? Is that something that we want to help to garner additional support through our various outlets, our social media outlets, whatever have you? Because it is a hot topic. A number of residents near and far are deeply concerned. The other thing that I wanted to bring up in regards to that location, is it possible for us to secure the site with the barricades, whatever have you, or snow fencing, and then to charge that back over to the property owners to raise the mayor's point in regards to that the owners have been fined and they are negligent. So if there's provisions that we can put in place so that we can eliminate any additional dumping and whatever have you.
Yeah, that's something I'll work with the city manager on.
Okay.
How she'd like us to proceed with either jersey barriers or fencing
Exactly.
if need be. So,
yes.
okay.
If you can provide us with an update on that when you give us the additional information. And
Will do.
then with Ferguson and Nagley Place, I know you mentioned the overgrown vegetation and some of the debris that is still there. The large tree on the corner, is that something that will be considered to be removed as well? On the corner where the house was once standing on Ferguson and Negley, it's an overgrown tree that needs to be removed because it creates a blind spot.
All right, I'll check with our team on that.
Okay. And then the 46 structures that are in the pipeline that you said are in fact ready to be demolished. I believe you have another chart that lays out the various demolitions. It gives like the funding categories, CDBG, ODOD, and DRP. So my question is, the 46 that we have that are that are in the pipeline, ready to be removed, will those be in fact allocated, or will ODOD dollars be used for those 46 that are ready to be removed?
I can give you a breakdown.
Okay.
So if they're ODOD, that funding they take care of that pipeline process. If it's ARPA, it's federal, and then if it's general fund, it's our money. So as those all go through the pipeline, depending on what the end funding source will be, is what we use to fund the title, and that's typically the funding guidelines, either by the federal government, that you use consistent funds across. So I'll get a breakdown as to which funding source they're under.
All right. And then last request, I've asked in the past for an electronic copy of the presentation. If you can send that through the.
Yeah, I PDF it and then
Okay.
share it with Public Affairs in the Commission office.
If you can send it over to the commission office, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you and great work.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
good.
Your Honor. Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I find it very helpful, and as I out in the community talking to the residents, they don't know about this every presentation at the end of each month, but I encourage them to tune in and to see this, because it really does show that we're tackling these issues of blight. Is there anything that we can do on that? I think we still have, 86 properties that need to come down in 2 months, which is going to be difficult to do. So is there any role that we can play in terms of reaching out to the governor's office? Is that where?
At this point, I appreciate that offer. On the demolition side, our vendors are good, our team's good, we're good there. I'm going to trust my partner at the land bank and his line of communications up to the state, because it is really, I don't think we've ever seen that where you get an award notification in November and told that you have to be done in June,
Right.
but the previous round has over 2 years to be executed. And so I will say this, I'll follow up if there is additional need that we as a city and the Land Bank Board can do to either communicate to ODOD about just, how tight of a timeline that is. And I'm not saying, I can't say it's unrealistic, because we're trying to achieve, we're committed to meeting that deadline, but it then, like I said, it puts other things, like we have to flip our schedules where we have to delay our ARPA stuff. And so,
But it's also a capacity issue. We did 28 this month. I don't know what month we've ever done the most in, but even when we had the pipeline ready to go, that's 43 a month.
Some days they have done 7. And again, it depends on the size of the homes. And I would say a home in Residence Park is sometimes significantly smaller than a home in Southern Dayton View.
Right.
And so they can move through those a little bit faster than those. But it is, again, we're grateful for the support from the state.
Right.
And if that is the terms, we are committed to beating that. But it does put a strain. So we are relying on our vendors to step up and support us. We're grateful for this kind of weather. As I mentioned, we have longer days,
Right.
so they're able to work, start work earlier, continue on. We're trying to maximize every bit of spring, summer to get these in. But I will say, if there is an opportunity to maybe speak to somebody at the state, well, I'll definitely pass it on about putting a good word in of maybe a few months extra would be, at least to the end of summer, would be really appreciated.
Right. Yeah, I think we could make it by then.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious about the Nordale Park as we reconceive what's there. Because they've kind of started using that space in different ways with the community garden there and those types of things. So there's an opportunity to relocate that if there's a more convenient spot. Are all those things on the place? And, I'm thinking about the shelter that we put in at Liberation Park. Would that kind of shelter be appropriate in that space?
That's the type of thing. Again, talking with Public Works, the neighborhood, and recreation. Kind of for us, it's like, all right, well, our part's done. And then, obviously they have their own timelines and pipelines. And so where we might come back in is if Recreation or Public Works asked us, our community engagement team, to bring the community back on to say, and to look at either what has already maybe been discussed for that area. So, I was like, hey, I'll take out the shelter. But now it's probably what does it look like? How does the community want to use that space?
And where are we in the spray parks and the ARPA dollars? I noticed in our update in the financial briefing that's still an open
I will have
line item, because I think we were very hopeful that we would get one into Nordale, and the last time I saw the kind of priorities, it wasn't clear if Nordale made the cut or not, and so I'm curious as we're looking at doing this upgrade or not upgrade, but, replacing that shelter and where the spray park.
All right. I'll check in with Public Works and get an update on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Commissioner Shaw?
Yeah, well, my colleagues have asked a lot of questions and got some really good information. I appreciate them for that. I, too, was able to take a look at Negley, and that's just remarkable.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I absolutely thank your staff for us. But no, I think I'll leave it there. But I really do appreciate these updates. It's so important that we push this information out. Like Commissioner said, most folks do not know what we're doing in the city, and it's really important to get that word out. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, again, as my colleagues have mentioned, and asked a lot of good questions and got a lot of good answers. So my only concern, I think that was raised as well, was that the capacity of staff in terms of addressing these issues, these concerns. But again, I would go back to say what we've said often, that this is creating more and more jobs. At least for every house that's torn down, we're creating about 5 jobs. So keep it going. And we keep on looking for and asking and begging for more support to come from both the state as well as the federal government. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Blackshear, do we have any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
Your Honor, I would like to request the addition of legislation pertaining to the public hearing at the desire of the Commission.
Okay,
That is all I have.
thank you. Ms. Lawton, any additions, comments, or deletions to the calendar?
Your Honor, thank you. I have no additions or deletions. I have a couple of highlights I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
Item A2, you all have received an amended version of that contract, and that amendment or revision is to reflect that the total amount is not solely designated for 34 North Main, but also includes 34 North Main among other potential properties that will need to have emergency work addressed. So today we are requesting approval of this third amendment to the demolition service agreement with Blade Cutters Lawn Service. It authorizes an additional $1.95 million in funding. This significant investment continues to underscore our commitment to public safety and by enabling critical emergency demolition and stabilization of fire-damaged and structurally compromised buildings across the city. A portion of these funds will specifically cover the emergency remediation work recently required at 34 North Main as a priority site due to its downtown location and the immediate public health and safety risks that it posed. Blade Cutter is a certified local Dayton business and was selected through a competitive and transparent RFQ process. And their continued work includes regulating asbestos, handling debris removal, site grading, and coordination with utility providers. The amendment extends the contract through June of 2026 and brings the total agreement to $2.93 million, again, reinforcing our proactive approach to neighborhood stabilization, emergency response, and protection of our community's assets and welfare. Item A3 is with Wright Dunbar, Inc., in partnership with the Friends of Meadow Honor Park. It will lead the development of a new Veterans Memorial Park at the corner of Edwin C. Moses Boulevard and West 3rd Street. It is supported with $196,000 in CDBG funds and $304,000 in general funds for a total public investment of $500,000. The initiative is a key extension of the Dayton Region Walk of Fame and reflects a community-driven effort over the last 2 years, with volunteers raising an additional $500,000 towards this effort. The project aims not only to preserve history, but also to strengthen the cultural connection between downtown and the historic Wright Dunbar neighborhood. The park will feature significant improvements to the appearance, safety, and public experience. Construction is expected to be completed in April of 2026. And then finally, on Resolution 6862-25, we're pleased to announce that the City of Dayton has received a $2.98 million Permanent Supportive Housing Grant Award through the 2024 HUD Continuum of Care program. This tenant-based rental assistance funding will support approximately 260 formerly homeless individuals during the upcoming program year, which runs from June 1st of 2025 through May 31st of 2026. This early approval is a significant milestone. As a continuum of care grant agreements, they're typically delayed well into the program year, and so receiving this agreement now allows the city to proactively contract with our vendor, our long-term standing service provider, Miami Valley Housing Opportunities, without requiring them to front program costs as in previous years. So by requesting the 2 readings at this one meeting, we aim to expedite this process and ensure that there's a seamless transition into the new grant cycle. The funding does play a vital role in stabilizing our most vulnerable residents and reflects our ongoing commitment to supportive housing solutions that uplift individuals and families in need. And that is all I have.
Okay. And that's a lot of good news. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. Blackshear, do we have any citizens who are registered to speak on calendar items?
Yes, Your Honor, 2 citizens have registered.
Okay.
I would like to state that there is a 3-minute time limit. As you address the commission, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. At that time, I will turn on the green light. When the green light comes on, you will have 3 minutes to speak. After you have spoken 2.5 minutes, a yellow light will come on. You will have 30 seconds remaining to speak. When the red light comes on, you will be asked to cease your comments and to take your seat. To the audience in attendance, please be mindful this is a business meeting, and we kindly request that during this portion of the meeting, you refrain from any hand clapping, finger snapping, and conversations that will prevent the City Commission from hearing the speaker's comments. I call to the podium Carla Garrett Harshaw.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
I am Carla Garrett Harshaw, 40 North Main Street in Dayton. I just want to thank the Commission for its support of the project for the Medal of Honor Memorial and Honor Park. You have been partners with us since the beginning. Getting a $500,000 grant certainly helps us to push this project along. We now have a contractor in place. We're ready to start building. We've raised $1.3 million of the $1.5 million campaign. So again, I want to thank you for all this will do to upgrade that corner at 3rd Street and Edwin C. Moses Boulevard, recognizing 40 Medal of Honor recipients from our area and more than 110,000 veterans who live in this community and work and play and have their families here. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Merle Wilberding. Name and address.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Merle Wilberding at 1013 Rubicon Road in the city of Dayton, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Medal of Honor project. I've worked on it with Carla for a number of years now, and as a veteran during the Vietnam War, I have a special appreciation for the veterans who sacrificed everything and deserve the honor that we're giving them. And as you know, this is kitty corner from where the airplane is, and it's going to be enhanced, that whole park. So very, very excited about that. I'll also tell you that on a personal basis, I'm a partner at Coolidge Wall, Dayton law firm, and I and the law firm contributed all of our services in this because we believe in the city of Dayton and we believe investing in the community. So we appreciate, and the city's been wonderful to work with, and we appreciate the opportunity to participate in this grant if it's approved. So thank you very much.
Thank you for all the work that the two of you have done. It's been a pleasure working with you. As always, I like the kickoff that we had last year as well. So again, keep it going,
Okay.
and we'll be right there beside you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
That is all, Your Honor.
Okay. Commissioners, comments, questions on city manager recommendations? Commissioner
Very
Turner-Sloss?
briefly- Yes, very briefly, I just wanted to echo Ms. Lofton's comments as it relates to the legislation for the acceptance of the continuum of care, and just to note that we were in fact one of the recipients that received the highest award. So I just wanted to acknowledge the staff, the entire staff, and again, that is a significant amount and just speaks volume of the need as well as the commitment of the staff. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Fairchild.
I'm good. Good.
I think I'm good. Well, just to make a statement, I really appreciate talking about the Right Dunbar Bar Inc. and the memorial, the Medal of Honor part. I just don't want to let this go past without saying our investment leverages community investment, and we've tried to do that, and we continue to do a good job with that. And I just wanted to put a fine point on that and congratulate the staff on their work on all of these. So thank you.
Okay, well said. Appreciate that. So may I have a motion then to approve the city manager's recommendations?
I move to approve the city manager's recommendations.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to approve the city manager's recommendations. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, legislation, Ms. Blackshear.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6862-25, authorizing the city manager to accept a continuum of care grant award from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for a total amount of $2,985,440.00 on behalf of the city of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Having been declared an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution number 6862-25.
Second, Your Honor.
Okay, with resolution number 6862-25 being declared an emergency. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6862-25, authorizing the city manager to accept a continuum of care grant award from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for a total amount of $2,985,440.00 on behalf of the city of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6863-25, approving the submission of a grant application and authorizing the acceptance of a grant award from the Montgomery County Solid Waste District in the amount of $15,720.94 on behalf of the city of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Your Honor, being declared as an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution number 6863-25.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to have resolution number 6863-25 as emergency. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay.
Second reading, ordinance number 32143-25, authorizing the rehiring of Major Brian Johns to the unclassified position of Major in the Dayton Police Department. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner he's not here. Commissioner Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
That is all, Your Honor.
Okay. So at this point in time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Ms. Lofton?
Your Honor, I'd like to call Ms. Holly Hornby of P&D, Planning, Neighborhoods, and Development, to the podium to present about the Sunwatch rezoning.
1 second. Hello, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Holly Hornbeek. I'm the Historic Preservation Planner in the Planning Department here in Dayton.
Good evening.
So what we have before us here is a zoning map amendment, and it is to rezone approximately 21 acres of land. These parcels contain what's known as the Sunwatch Indian Village Archaeological Site, as well as the Education Center. And so these are the three parcels that we're talking about. They contain the visitor center, the parking lot, and then the archaeological site for the Sunwatch Indian Village. And just to showcase what the zoning is like today, currently these 3 parcels are zoned general industrial. That was never changed from back in the 70s. And they are looking to become open space, parkland, that sort of thing, which is also located near them. So a very brief history of this site. Around 800 years ago, pre-contact Native Americans, the Fort Ancient people, settled on the site and they constructed a village and they lived and thrived here for about 30 years. And then jumping much further ahead, in the 60s, amateur excavations at this site discovered artifacts, but real excavation began in the 70s when there were plans for a sewage treatment plant on this site, and so as part of salvage for that, they did archaeological investigations and they found significant artifacts, and so work on that project was halted. And then in 1975, the site was added to the National Register of Historic Places, noted as one of the best preserved locations for the Fort Ancient people, just due to the way the area would flood and then resettle. The artifacts were buried quite in a very secure way that they could later be recovered. And then in 1982, the city of Dayton leased the site to the Dayton Museum of Natural History. And in 1985, they constructed their Education and Interpretation Center. And in 1990, the site was designated as a National Historic Landmark, which is even above and beyond the National Register of Historic Places. So, some brief photos of the site. If you haven't been out there, you really should get out there and take a look. It's beautiful, it's educational, it's informative. They have recreations of 2 different huts, a solstice house and what's called the big house. And then they have recreations of these posts that were found, evidence of these posts that had a cultural significance to the people that lived there and aligned with different star formations and movements of the sun. That's why it's called Sunwatch. And then inside the interpretive center, they have artifacts recovered on the site on display, as well as a recreation of what the village could have looked like. So just to reiterate with the map again, the people here, Sunwatch, Boonshoft, they are using all 3 of these parcels, even the area around the parking lot. They use that to grow prairie grasses that they use to thatch the huts that are part of the recreation. They have a place for events and teaching classes for children and archaeological classes. And then they have a site for camping, a scout sort of off-the-grid camping site that people can also use, as well as, of course, the site of the most significant archaeological finds, the village itself. And this isn't all we're planning on doing here. This is just sort of the first step. Future plans include consolidating the parcels, redividing them. We'll be in contact with the Sunwatch people about what they want to see there. We're also going to be looking at adding an easement to the archaeological site. And then something that will come back to you is a zoning code text amendment to create a new historic designation overlay that would further protect the site. We have 3 historic designation overlays right now, but they're all really tuned specifically to homes and the built environment. None of them really talk about cultural areas like this. So we want to get something that can be used here and then at other places that we find around Dayton. So, public analysis and staff input. Clearly, the goal back when we leased the site to the Dayton National History Society was to protect it and to give it to their stewardship. And then in our comprehensive plan and in our zoning code, we acknowledge we need to protect cultural resources and archaeological sites, but we haven't really done that yet. So this is sort of a first step to achieving both those goals as well. And then the process of actually looking at rezoning this was started with outreach to Native American groups who were in conversation with the Sunwatch, the Boonshoft people, about artifacts found on the site, what they can do to protect it. And so that's sort of, they've been involved in this conversation from the beginning, and they're all sort of supportive of increasing our protection of the site. And we really haven't heard anything in opposition. So looking at the commission alternatives here, staff certainly supports approval of the zoning map amendment to change the zoning of these 3 parcels from general industrial to open space. And that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I believe someone from the Dayton Society of Natural History might be in attendance, if you have any questions for her as well.
Okay. All right. You gonna make your presentation or both the joint? First, to see if you guys have questions.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Turner-Sloss? Any questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Hornbeck, for your presentation this evening. Just one question. Could you, if you're at liberty, to discuss the lease agreement? Like, is it a long-standing agreement? How long is that agreement in place for?
Sure. As far as I'm not quite sure on the specifics, but we
Okay.
have been leasing it since Holly mentioned, and I believe
Right,
it's every
yeah.
10 years that we renew that lease.
I just renewed it, if I'm not mistaken.
We can find out.
Okay. And I may be wrong on that, but I feel like it was just renewed, but excuse me.
I think it was within the
Okay.
last 5 years or so.
Okay.
But I'm not sure the timeline.
Okay. That's the only question that I have. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, no comment, but we love the space. My daughter and I have been out there, and we really enjoy it, and we're glad it's an asset, and look forward to taking this step to help protect it.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I was out there, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great space.
Thank you.
All right, so we're good.
Awesome.
Questions? Thank you. So we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your choice? Move forward?
Move forward.
Okay. All right, move forward.
The legislation implementing zoning case number PLN 2025-00029 will be ordinance number 32144-25. It will receive a first reading only. First reading ordinance number 32144-25, amending the official zoning map to change the zoning of approximately 21.21 acres at the end of West River Road from General Industrial I-2 to Open Space OS. That is all of the legislation.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Blackshear, do we have any citizens who are registered to speak?
Your Honor, 4 citizens have registered, and I would like to remind everyone of the 3-minute time limit. I call to the podium Darrell Lee.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darrell Lee. I live 1903 East 3rd Street, Dayton, Ohio.
You may begin.
Yes. I would like to speak of the laws of Dayton police. Anywhere in the United States of America, if I'm married or I'm gay or whatever, or sister, brother, anyone go out to commit a crime and someone knows that they committed a crime, they were charged with accessory. I've been shot 12 times. I got 2 bullets in my head to this day. I don't know when I would decease. Hopefully God will keep me here. But through the state of Ohio and the city of Dayton, they say the laws is not eligible to charge anybody with accessory to attempt to murder, and I was almost murdered. So this guy, he wasn't charged with attempted murder. He was charged with a felonious assault. Anywhere in the United States of America, anyone who's tried to kill someone, come back alive, or this disability or whatever, they would get charged with attempted murder. It's just like if I go rob the bank with my married husband and he the getaway driver. I know my husband was going in there to rob a bank, and I would get charged as well. And I want to go back to myself, my life. The city of Dayton don't provide no help to U.S. citizens of the United States or citizens of Dayton. I've been shot. I have pain and suffering. I barely can boo-boo every 2 days. My body is not the same no more. The Montgomery County prosecutors, they want is a conviction. I would think that these laws should change, and that this guy, 18 years is not worth my life. I can die any day. I got organs removed out of my body. And I'm going to go back as far as the city of Dayton laws. They don't have no laws as fathers' rights in the city of Dayton or the state of Ohio. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Lee.
thank you for your comments.
Jason Balwick.
Jason Balwig, 1410 Creighton Avenue.
You may begin.
Okay, good evening.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. So I've lived in Walnut Hills since 2008. We bought a house next door to the house that we lived in before. So we've lived in Walnut Hills total 17 years. And I've never wanted to leave the city of Dayton. I've lived here my entire adult life. But we have a really bad neighbor right now. In 2015, Belmont High School opened up, and their marching band started practicing 150 yards from my house. So the practices are 5 days a week, 4 hours, approximately 4 hours a day. The drum line warms up in an alcove that points toward my house. So it's kind of like a Death Star that they drum at my house. So I'm kind of a curmudgeon. So at first I thought it was just me. And then my wife came home one day and was like, "What kind of life is this?" And then I talked to my neighbor, and they were like, "Yeah, this sucks too." And I talked to somebody else, and they were like, "Let's start a petition." But I thought that I'd come talk to you guys first to try to get some help. I've talked to the Dayton City Schools, and they said they'd help in January. Nothing. I called Belmont High School. I called Belmont High School to leave messages, to file complaints. They never call me back. We've called the police. The police are like, whatever. At this point, we feel like nobody cares. I'm not here as a taxpayer that is demanding you do something. I'm here as a resident of Walnut Hills and Ulmer Park who just needs some help, right? We have examples. It goes on, and I don't want them to not do it. I just want a dialogue to where we can have a conversation and they can use their space a little better and not bombard my house all day. I was in the basement one day and I was like, "Who's out thumping bass in front of my house at 3:30 in the afternoon?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, the band's warming up." But yeah, and it's getting to be the end of the school year, but we're going to get maybe a month break. Like the Swallows to Capistrano, they're going to come back. And I work from home, and it starts at 3:30, and it goes on until dark. I need a dialogue. I need some help. And that's all I got.
Mr. Baldwin, please stay after the meeting.
Okay.
I'd like to talk to you. I have a sincere understanding, being a drummer myself, and I do understand the noise that we create in those spaces growing up. So we'll talk with you, and we'll make a better connection with Dayton Public Schools.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balwick.
Keith Landers.
Keith Lander, 429 South Kilmer, Dayton.
Evening.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm here to respond to a newspaper article out of Dayton Daily News dated April the 10th, 2025. And it stated that the state budget has an amendment by State Representative Phil Plummer to stop Dayton Public School students from using the RTA hub. And the drop-off of the RTA the students that ride RTA to downtown. Now, I understand there's problems that occurs at the RTA hub, and people have expressed concerns on that, but also people are working extremely hard trying to get a fix. Mr. Plummer's statement to the Dayton Daily News is that the Dayton Public Schools is responsible for transportation, and the district must get its students back on the yellow buses. I couldn't agree more. But the issue is, where are you going to get the money? So if Mr. Plummer can add an amendment to the state budget to try to stop DPS students from riding the RTA buses to downtown hub, I would suggest to him that he comes up and add money to the state budget to give to the Dayton Public Schools so they can buy buses, get the staff and maintain those buses. Because we can continue to talk about the problem, but until someone comes with a solution to that problem, and I don't see Mr. Plummer or anybody from the state offering any solutions, I see what the city commission is doing. I see what the mayor is doing. Y'all working as hard as you can to resolve those issues. But until we get all these parties together and have a meeting to discuss how or when we can move some of those students from that area, then I think we'll be working in unity, and we can really solve the problem instead of having a state representative come into town and grandstand and talk about issues and then run out of town without a solution. That ain't gonna fix nothing. And when I see Mr. Plummer, I would tell him that's not a fix. You're just complaining about a problem that you trying to, I don't know who he think gonna fix it. But I do know this, the Dayton Public Schools do not have the wherewithal right now to get all those buses that is needed to transport those students back to the neighborhood. So maybe Mr. Plummer can add another amendment to the state budget, give the Dayton Public Schools the money they need, and maybe we can move those kids from downtown to the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Maggie Burke.
Maggie Burke, 1200 Epworth Avenue, Dayton, Ohio.
Good evening.
Good evening. Back again. Just want to thank you for your time. Some of this might be repetitive for a few of you. Mayor Mims, you weren't here the last week, but the last 2 weeks ago when I spoke. But I just wanted to come back and speak on behalf of the concerns around youth initiatives within the city of Dayton. And I also would like to add to the previous person that spoke that Phil Plummer did make a very concerning comment the day of your press conference around saying that kids were rioting in the libraries, and the word riot holds a very dangerous definition, and that's not fair to have the kids have to carry that burden. So my first ask is, if you hear comments like that, whether it's commission or community, advocate for our kids, advocate for our youth. They deserve to have a seat at the table, and they deserve to have a chance to share their narration. But as I shared 2 weeks ago, I do not have all the answers. But I do know that there's many individuals, organizations, and programs. I did see the advertisement running prior to the meeting today, which they're invested in our kids, and they're invested in bringing youth-led initiatives to the city. I'm a member of Gem City Action, and we've actually had the opportunity to speak to community members and business owners about youth-led initiatives, and we've had a lot of support. The conversations will continue, and we'll definitely stay connected. I know that the violence prevention work is going to begin, and we actually, Mayor Mims, have had a brief conversation, and you've assured me that there are the appropriate partners and leaders from the city and community that are involved, which I appreciate, and I am going to remain curious. But I ask that we keep that communication open. And I know, like tonight, I thought that demolition, I'm going rogue, sorry. I thought the demolition project update was incredibly interesting to watch. Thank you, Commissioner Turner-Sloss, for your questions, because that was really helpful for me. But if people aren't coming here, maybe we should go out to the community, go into their spaces. Where can we have access to have communication, or access to the communication? Because 2 weeks ago, there were people. That was a robust commission meeting. I mean, you had everybody talking from youth initiatives to everything. It was great. But I think that information should be in the community. Sit down with them in their spaces and talk about it. But as the violence prevention work is being done, I do hope that there is investment into the current initiatives that are already happening. And I hope that that is invested, and I do hope that the kids are at the table every single time, because I get the opportunity to sit with them. I sit with kids daily, and then I get to sit with a group of kids weekly. And when I tell you these kids have solved so many problems in 5 minutes, that I think sometimes adults overcomplicate things, so let's give them grace, and let's not let the news narrate them in a negative light. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Bird.
That is all, Your Honor.
That's it? Okay. So, Ms. Blackshear, Ms. Lofton, I'm sorry. I want to go out of order. Have any closing comments?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Ms. Blackshear, any closing comments?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Turner-Sloss, any closing comments?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I just would like to acknowledge and thank all of the, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 36 total neighborhoods that participated, 34. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Slyer and Ms. Lofton. 34 neighborhoods that participated in the Living City project. citywide cleanup. It was well attended. It was a little cold and rainy, but nonetheless, people definitely came out and showed out. And I wanted to uplift all of the staff members too, from Public Works, Fire Department. I think pretty much everyone was out that weekend. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Ms. Carla Garrett Harshaw, as well as Mr. Miro. I always mess this up. Wellendinger? Almost, right? I tried. But thank you both for your leadership and your commitment to seeing this project move forward. And it's right in line with an update that is provided by Ms. Reed, in which Wright Dunbar Inc. is looking for artists to submit designs for wrapping the silver utility boxes in Wright Dunbar Commercial Business District. So a couple of things to improve the area, and design should be inspired by our Wright brothers, Paul and Dunbar, or another inductee from the Dayton Walk of Fame. Artists can submit their designs to info@wrightdunbar.org, and the deadline for submissions is in fact May 1st at 11:59 p.m. Thank you, Ms. Reed. The other thing that I wanted to note as well, brought to you by Ms. Reed, is the Family Wellness Day is Saturday, May the 3rd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Lowry Recreation Center, and the admission is in fact free. So thank you, Ms. Reed. Thank you, Ms. Holland Hornbeck. Thank you for your presentation this evening. Mr. Lee, thank you for your comments, and we can have a conversation afterwards, just to direct you into the appropriate audience, if you will, or office, so you can voice your concerns as it relates to your unfortunate incident that occurred. Mr. Baldwick, thank you for your concerns, and thank you for being here this evening. We had similar concerns maybe about 2-3 years ago as it relates to our drill team.
Right.
And so I will look forward to having a conversation with you after the meeting, just to hear your recommendations as to how we can, in fact, improve the quality of life and address your concerns overall. Because again, we definitely want to continue to have our students participate in the extracurricular activities, but we don't want it to impede on the quality of life that you and your family and your neighbors have in the area. So I look forward to having a conversation, and perhaps, as the mayor has already alluded to, we can work together to direct you with some of our colleagues from the board, the school board, to work with you to resolve your concerns. Mr. Lander, thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here. Your point is well taken. Conversations are being had, and I look forward to collaborating with our state legislators, as well as our DPS board members, our Dayton Public School board members, as well as my colleagues, so that we can identify means and ways. But the issue is not just downtown, it's the overall violence throughout the city. Unfortunately, we had 2 incidents that occurred this past weekend, and my hearts and prayers go to those family members and those friends who have suffered the loss. But know that we're doing any and everything that we can to resolve these issues. And I will also add to Ms. Burke, thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here. I think she left, but nonetheless, appreciate her being here and raising her concerns. And again, this is something that we're working very hard on. And from my understanding, which I wasn't privy to, but I believe there was a meeting on the 21st. I look forward to those updates to come out of that meeting in regards to the peace campaign and what the next steps are. So
I think the invites went out to all the members of the team.
I didn't get it until late. Didn't get it. So, but we can talk about that offline, so we can make sure that we all are abreast and fully aware of the next steps and add our input, so that we can, in fact, address the concerns of Mr. Lander, Ms. Burke, as well as a number of other community members and residents. So I believe that's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for all those comments. I'll just echo my appreciation for all the volunteers who came out, all the staff who made the Living City cleanup such a big success. Special thanks to Fred Sneed, who I got to work alongside of for about an hour and a half over in the Westwood neighborhood. And I'm curious, Mr. Ritchie, if we know how much we picked up.
How about we get all
You can
that
get that later.
information to you? We'll
All right.
provide all
Yeah.
those details.
That'd
to
be
you.
great. You know, my hope is that one year we can get to a place where we pick up less trash because we're doing a better job of not putting
Yeah.
trash down.
But I think that is happening, so we're going to keep that moving. I appreciate that.
On a personal note, I want to thank Brandon White of the White House and Tekari Mkteka, who provided our catering for our quinceañera, and we had a great time, and it was a great opportunity. So if you're looking for an event, a space in Dayton, the White House there downtown is a great space and highly recommend it. And I think that's all my comments today.
Okay. Commissioner Shaw.
All right, just a couple of announcements. The Montgomery County Youth Job Fair is happening on Thursday, May 1st, 11 to 2 at Day Air Ballpark. It's a great opportunity for young people looking for a job this summer, and you can explore careers, meet with employers, and do on-the-spot interviews with approximately 50 local employers. The event is free, and so is parking, and you can pre-register at thejobcenter.org. I think I mentioned this last week, but it's worth mentioning again. The National Museum of the U.S. Air Force is offering free summer camps for students of all ages, including aerospace and cybersecurity programs, as well as an introduction to becoming a pilot. It's a great opportunity for our youth to explore STEM careers and develop new skills. Again, all camps are completely free and include all necessary materials. And registration is now open at the museum website. I'm sure that's U.S. Air Force Museum. Well, anyway, maybe we'll get that to you. The museum website. So okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Enough.
Oh, no, I will say, no, you're right. The trash pickup, the cleanup of the city was awesome. I really appreciate so much staff that was out there helping out. Question I have, how do I return the little picker-up thing? Somebody's probably looking for that. But anyway, somebody will let me know that. But thank you for that.
I think we had a whole bunch of those, so they wouldn't mind if you just kept that.
Pick up trash as I see it throughout the year. All right, we'll do it.
And Mayor, I
Yes, sir.
omitted to invite people on Friday at 11 a.m. is the annual police memorial down at Rivers Gate.
Thank you for
I want
that.
to make sure that citizens are aware of that.
Okay, thank you. So, again, a few things. RTA will be offering free rides to those who need a ride to the polls on May the 6th. So make sure you get your free ride if you have not yet voted yet, and put yourself in a better position to represent your thoughts. Also, the Miami Valley CTC Aspire program will be at the Dayton Metro Library on May 5th from 9:30 until 1:30 for those who are seeking assistance with their GED program. So again, make sure you're there if you need some support with regards to that. And Commissioner Shaw already mentioned the issue with the Dragons and the program for youth fair, job fair. This for ages 17 to 24, I think it is. So, yeah. So, with no further business to come before this commission, love and peace for all and hatred for none, this meeting is adjourned.